This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council members. My name is Mario Lugo. I'm the Chief of Police with the City of Manassas Park. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present on the Police Department's FY21 proposed budget. This will be the structure in which the presentation will be presented today with the items, and with an introduction. Obviously, the organizational structure would go by services provided to the city, our accomplishments in FY20, our goals and objectives as we move forward, our overall cost for service, police department staffing, our proposed, briefly discuss our proposed departmental budget for FY21, the needs of the department, community events, and our special operations division, and some highlights of our operations with regional task force. And we'll end with the public safety overtime survey. The Manassas Park Police Department is a full-service law enforcement agency that responds to nearly 26,000 calls for service a year, with approximately 4,000 calls coming to our lobby at our police department headquarters. It could range anywhere from our call for service to parking violation, records checks, and FOIA requests. Our facility is about 13 years old. It has is modern and equipped for our safety, public safety. We have several divisions in our police department that range from any for our administration, professional standards division, operations, criminal investigations, school and resource, community resource officers, our special operations, and our animal control services to our citizens. Within the department, we are authorized 33 police officers, 7 dispatchers, and 2 admin personnel. Currently, we're understaffed. We're short 1 officer and 1 dispatcher. This is our organizational structure. We tend to follow a chain of command structure, with the chief being the top, major, 2 captains, lieutenants in charge of, 1 is in charge of like investigations and our property and evidence, and then we have a lieutenant and a sergeant at on every day and night shift squad. So we run 2 day shifts and 2 night shifts on a 12-hour shift. Our animal controls, we typically would have them work Monday through Friday or Tuesday through Saturday, but since that position has been vacant for a while, our officers having to take up those responsibilities. For FY21, no change in our organizational structure. We're going to keep it the same. It seems to be working. In 20, we made some changes just to divide up the responsibilities, and we're putting too much on certain supervisors and members of command staff. So this structure has been working very well for us, and we're going to continue using it. When we talk about our divisions within the police department operation, it discusses our marked patrol units. They're on the street patrolling our cities, our neighborhoods. Our investigation unit, which investigates all major crimes, anything from scams or high profile cases, violent crimes, homicides. We're still members of the Regional Narcotics Task Force. We're still members with the Gang Task Force, but that position is currently vacant because of staffing issues. And we're still partners with the Northern Virginia Violent Crime Task Force, which our detectives kind of do 2 duels there, where they'll help out for cases on a federal level or on a state level. Our community resource officer, we have 1. He's assigned to the high school and the middle school, but he's also responsible for responding to the other 2 campuses, Cougar Elementary and the 2 facilities over there by Cougar Elementary. Our community resource officer, which is currently vacant, handles all community events, crime prevention, supports our neighborhood watch programs and meetings, assists in our child safety programs, community events like National Night Out, 4th of July event, and also is our liaison for the volunteers. Our special response team, which is our officers that take on additional duties to receive additional training to respond to like an active shooter situation or an active shooter crisis in our business section. They assist in training, firearms, defensive tactics, obviously active shooter with Alice training, officer survival. And then our canine units are all under the Special Operations Division, which they do the search and rescues and patrol. Our communication center, which is located in our building, handles all calls for service coming in, either by 911 or non-emergency. They also maintain our NCIC and DMV record management systems. Our administrative division conducts all our record managements, procurements, walk-ins, parking violations, FOIA requests, and records checks. Our professional standards division is our policy development unit. It handles all internal and criminal investigations, training and accreditation, and any citizen and misconduct complaints. Animal control service, which right now our officers are having to conduct those duties because of the animal control position being frozen, provide all our maintain the health and safety of the welfare of the community, make sure people are in compliance with the animal enforcement ordinance, and assist citizens with information or the proper tools, and handle any issues involving domestic animals and wildlife. Our accomplishments this year, we're looking in and currently enhancing our next gen E911 services. We sought out and received over $100,000 in grant funding. The funding went towards internet crimes against children, our narcotic deployment, selective enforcement for like DUIs and speeding, and our NG 911 EZNet migration. We were able to maintain our Virginia State accreditation this past year. We continue to provide crime prevention and community services program to our community. We're members of the Joint Narcotics Task Force and Gang Task Force. We were able to provide our resource officer to our city public schools. We've upgraded our GIS and radio capabilities, updated our crisis management and violence response manual, enhanced traffic safety through selective enforcement through our DMV grant, and maintain and equip SRT unit for school community violence and training to be provided across the city. As mentioned earlier, last year we had our accreditation inspection, and we received our 5th consecutive certification in January of 2019. And last year we were again the top 3 safest cities in the area, in the Commonwealth of Virginia actually. We're the 2nd city, but because I think personally it's a town, but yes, we're number 3 on the list again. As we discussed departmental goals, I understand that our current situation strategy of postponing decisions for raises until we know the full impact of this recession. I would like to take a moment just to discuss a brief some of our staffing issues. According to the national average, we're required, not required, but what they're looking for is a 2.5. How am I going to say this? But looking for 2.5, that would require us to, per capita, I guess, would require us adding 11 sworn officers, additional positions. The second bullet I want to discuss is the employee salary compensation in the area. It's low for us. Well, another accomplishment, we want to maintain our school resource officer, enhance our administrative and 911 support system. We would like to add 1 dispatcher, 1 admin services personnel, enhance our animal control service by opening up that position for the animal control position, enhance our police department policy and procedures, maintain our canine units to proactive enforcement, continue crime prevention, community policing, and outreach programs. Continue to maintain our Virginia accreditation. Let's seek additional funding for traffic enforcement and equipment. Maintain cooperation, participation with regional task force. Enhance our PC and IT support for the police department. Enhance public safety by improving quality of life for our citizens, and maintain school violence response with our schools with ALICE training. This is the police to ratio, resident ratio, which I briefly discussed up top. The national average, according to the ICMA and the UCR, it should be 2.5 ratio. Currently, we're running at now 1.9. As you can see, we did a survey here of other areas like Fairfax Falls, Georgetown, Herndon, Culpeper, Manassas, and Indiana. It ranges anywhere from 2.3 to 2.8. The average comes out to about 2.4, which puts us, the city, at 1.9. In order for us to reach that 2.5 mark, we would have to add in, which I think I mentioned earlier, 11 additional officers. And that's in this year for FY20. There's no big change in FY21. As you can see, the numbers are pretty much the same. Some jurisdictions went up slightly, but pretty much we're still sitting at 1.9, which is a 20% difference. Departmental goals or performance measures. Last year we responded in calendar year 2019, we responded to over 24,000 calls, 3,500 foot patrols, 4,000 traffic arrests were made, 94 felonies, 376 parking or correction misdemeanor arrests, and over 3,000 parking tickets were issued. We're projecting this year for 25,000, over 25,000 calls for service, about 3,800 in foot patrols, an increase of about 600 in traffic offense or traffic arrest, significant amount in a felony arrest, 475 for misdemeanor, and 3,600 for parking enforcement. For FY21 or calendar year 21, we're looking at maybe 26,000 calls for service, 4,000 foot patrol, 5,200 traffic arrests, 130 felony arrests, and 550 misdemeanor arrests. And these are all projected numbers, and 3,800 parking tickets. This is just a graph chart that'll show the different the calls for service that we discussed on the previous slide, and it kind of breaks it down, shows you the elevation of calls for service in other areas for this year and projected for next year. I want to discuss our 5-year staffing for between now and 2025. Our agency, we have been working under staff for quite some time now, and the need for additional personnel would greatly improve our services to the community. The police department continues to face challenges in the retention of experienced officers and the recruitment of new officers. In the past 2 years, we have experienced the worst attrition rate of 55%. We have lost 13 officers, 9 communication specialists, and 1 administrative services personnel. The primary factor for the high turnover rate is due to the funding challenges of salaries, benefits, and competitive salaries compared to our area. Currently, our staff salaries range anywhere from 5% to 32% under the area average, and this is all based on years of service and position. So in FY21, we're not looking for any additional staff. In FY22, if the budget permits, we're probably going to look to see if we can increase our staff by adding 1 investigator, 1 administrative assistant, a crime analyst, an additional dispatcher, and maybe look at unfreezing the animal control position. And of course, I was looking at maybe adding 2 part-time positions to help. For FY24, we would look at adding 1 more officer as our population increases, and maybe 1 more additional records clerk. As we discussed earlier, with the animal control position being frozen and our staff levels already well below area average of 26%, obviously the reinstatement of the animal control would increase our sworn staffing levels and provide the service to our community on a day-to-day operation. This would be the costs associated with unfreezing the animal control position. We're looking at approximately about $81,000 between salary, benefits, uniform, and equipment. But this does not include if we have to send them to the academy or any field training that would have to be conducted. And then as we look at our emergency communication specialist, currently we have only one dispatcher working at one time up in there, up in the emergency communication center. We would prefer to have two 24/7 in there. With the amount of calls we get in and the either 911, non-emergency, or radio traffic, it makes it hard for one individual to constantly keep on top of that. If we ever have, when we have a major incident, the call volume doubles, sometimes triples, which makes it difficult at times for them to properly, answer everybody's calls and answer the radio. So our goal in the future would be to add one communication specialist and then have two work there, work every shift together, side by side. And as we look, this will be the cost associated with adding an additional dispatcher, salaries, benefits, of course, and about $71,000. The administrative assistant, this is a position that we would like to add. Obviously, with the amount of calls that come in to the police department and our citizens coming into the lobby, it makes it hard with only having two administrators that can actually go out there and talk to the public when it relates to like a parking violation, FOIA request, a records check. Currently, my division chief and one records clerk handles all those duties on top of all the other additional duties that they have to do on a day-to-day basis. So adding one more would definitely allow them to concentrate more on the other job and provide this person to help with those records checks, parking violations, and FOIA requests. To add a full-time administrative assistant is approximately about $68,000 with salaries, equipment, and uniforms. Crime analyst is another position that we would like. It's not, something that we currently don't have. It definitely would help us to know when and where and how to focus and limit our resources when it comes to criminal activity in our community. It can show us statistics on hotspots, how to, what areas should we do more community policing on? What areas are we seeing a string of robberies or, vehicle break-ins, things of those nature. So to hire a full-time crime analyst, we're looking at approximately $80,000 a year. I briefly discussed this earlier that I would like to see in 2022, FY22. Currently, most of my supervisors are in lieutenants and above have to take on additional duties. One of them is our property and evidence room. I would like to see in the future maybe adding a part-time position and hiring somebody that has experience in working the property and evidence room for law enforcement and hiring them to work part-time for our city and handle those responsibilities, which can range providing physical and handling and clerical support to the evidence room. To hire a part-time crime and property officer, we're looking at approximately $53,000 with some insurance assistance and, of course, some of the benefits that we would pay. Another part-time position I would like to implement in the future would be a training coordinator that would help with Professional Standards Division, provide training for our department, work with our staff in addressing any department-wide training issues to include identifying training resources and organizing training events for the department. And like I said, mentioned earlier, these right now is shared by officers on the street, supervisors, and command staff. To add a part-time training coordinator would cost the city approximately $53,000 per year. Now, I'd like to briefly discuss the proposed FY21 budget. One of the things that we did as we emphasized preparing our budget was to find ways to provide additional services to the community without adding a significant amount of cost. This proposed budget, we look for an increase of approximately slightly over 1.5%, which ranges out to be about $68,822. As we discuss this further, the proposed budget, could have increased slightly of 1.5%. About $42,000 of that was for increase in cost of benefits. The other $24,000 was enhance our travel and education, of course, our uniform and some public safety supplies, and also a part-time E911 position that was approved last year, increased this, that salary line item. As we discussed earlier, we continue to face challenges in retention of our officers, continue to have a high turnover rate. As we looked what we spend per capita for our services here in our city, we went ahead and did an area average, checked other jurisdictions like Fairfax, Culpeper, Falls Church, Town, Herndon, Vienna, Manassas City. What we discovered was that the area average per capita was 432. Currently, our city operates at approximately $254, which is about 41% under the area average. So we spent about less than 41% for critical police services, which reflects both on lower ratio officers to residents and a significant lower rate for compensation. And that's currently this year. I'd like to discuss unfunded needs of the department. Obviously, the police part, the animal control position, adding a dispatcher, the crime analyst, and administrative assistant. One of the other things that are funded would be the salary adjustment that's needed, which is approximately $449,537. So the estimated cost to fund all these needs would be approximately $750,000. We also need to look in the future and maybe adopting some type of city employment merit and step plan to help us in the future not falling so behind in the area average for these services. On a lighter note, this is our, some pictures that we took for some community events. On the top left corner, as you can see, is the ALICE training we provide to all our new school teachers and current teachers. Last year, we hired 2 of our citizens that live in Manassas Park, and they graduated in the academy in December and are completing their FTO training as we speak. Our outreach program by our school resource officer with the students at the schools. We continue to participate in community outreach programs. Our facility, we use it for training. As you can see in the top right corner, that's our EOC. We're doing tabletop training there. Bottom left, our training we provide our officers, either through roll call or other, if we have a guest speaker come in or something like that. This year, we reached out to VMI, and they hosted a leadership reaction and ropes course for us, for our command staff, first line supervisor, and we also invited supervision from Parks and Recs. It was a great program. They have to work in team building and strategies, and we're looking at having see if they can host another one and send some more people in FY21. Every year we participate in our Special Olympics, and of course, our awareness for breast cancer. And we conduct fundraisers for both programs. As you can see in the pictures, our cards that we try to outfit with new decals to show our support. Last year's National Night Out was a big success. I know a lot of people participated and attended. We had a good turnout and a good time, and can't wait to see if we're able to host it this year again. But these are some pictures to show, the event. This year we had a good turnout of actual kids and officers to participate in our Shop with a Cop. It was a great experience. There's some pictures reflecting with some of our kids from our neighborhoods and Mrs. Claus and our officers. Here's our special response team in our canine division. Just wanted to show everybody our ones that sometimes don't get recognized, our canines. Our special response team responding to a call in the city, and they recently trained at a facility. We continue to participate in with the regional gang or narcotics task force. These are some of the undercover operations that led to significant money and drugs being seized. The top picture is, shows what can be done with participating in these type of units and getting these guns and drugs off the street. The bottom picture shows our officers being proactive and conducting traffic stops or even obtaining a search warrant for person's residence, and we're able to obtain a large amount of narcotics and firearms. Lastly, I'd like to finish up with a public safety overtime survey we conducted. Currently, we operate about 35% less than the area average. And I think we're going to be in the same position in FY21. As you can see, other areas like Falls Church, Manassas, Leesburg, Vienna, Fairfax have increased their overtime. For Manassas, the area average came out to be about $9,000. We currently operate about $6,000 per officer. And that's it for my presentation. If somebody has questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.